Hi, everyone. It's Paula Edgar, and welcome back to Branding Room Only. If you're new here, I'm so glad that you've joined me because this is where I talk to dynamic leaders, trailblazers, and game changers about the intentional ways they build, express, and evolve their personal brands. But today's episode is a special re release, and it's one that means a lot to me personally. I am revisiting my conversation with the brilliant Kelly Hoey. She's the author of Build Your Dream Network, a speaker, a facilitator, and someone who lives and breathes authentic connection. Kelly was my very first guest on this podcast, and I chose her for that moment because I've always admired how she moves with thoughtfulness, with clarity, and with unmatched intentionality when it comes to building relationships. Relationship building isn't just something that Kelly does, it's a core strength of her brand, and I love it. So, in this episode, we dive deep into what personal branding really is, how your network reflects and reinforces your brand, and why your elevator pitch isn't a monologue, it is an invitation. So, whether this is your first time hearing this conversation or you're back for a refresher, get ready to take some notes. This re release is packed with insight, strategy, and some serious mic drop moments. Let's jump in. Welcome to the Branding Room Only podcast, where we share career stories, strategies, and lessons learned on how industry leaders and influencers have built their personal brands. Now, let's get started with the show. Hi, everyone. I'm Paula Edgar, the host of Branding Room Only, where I bring you industry leaders and influencers to talk about how they're using their skills, talents, and experiences to create and amplify their personal brands. And today I have with me someone who is very special. We're going to probably talk about that. It's Kelly Hoey, and she is an author of Build Your Dream Network. And so Kelly says her brand is grounded in networks and making meaningful connections, which explains how her career has migrated from Canada to New York, big law to entrepreneurship, and onto numerous unexpected career opportunities, including publishing a book. Kelly, welcome to the Branding Room Only podcast.
It is so wonderful to be here with you. Anyone watching a video is going to see us beaming ear to ear. This is like, the energy.
So energy and what I expected and why I said to you that I was so happy to have this conversation is really a part of branding, what you can expect from someone and what they sort of deliver. So tell me, what does personal brand mean to you? How do you define it?
Well, for me, for personal branding, I think you need to listen and observe and see what it is that your network sees in you. Because, you hate the expression, putting lipstick on a pig kind of thing, but people can think, all right, I've changed the colors on my website, I've done this, I bought the right suit. But how we behave and engage, there's stuff we control, but how other people react to it is there's where the rubber hits the road with your personal brand. So for me, when I think about personal branding, I think about how do your everyday interactions, how are all those micro networking actions formulating a picture of who you are, and is it the picture you want it to be? And I think of that really, there's a maker's video of Carla Harris, and she talks about having to change the perception, aka her personal brand, so she was tougher. And it is classic and it is amazing. And what does your network see? You may think you're one thing, you may think you're portraying something else, but listen to your network. What is it they see in you?
Ooh, Carla Harris. So when I do presentations on branding, I use a quote that basically where she says that, everything that happens in terms of your career trajectory happens when you're not in the room. And so you need to make sure that people are talking about you in a way in which it aligns with what you want to be said about you. So I love that you brought up Carla Harris, because she's one of my faves.
Awesome. She is so amazing. Yeah, the people didn't think she was tough enough. She got the feedback that she wasn't tough enough. So she said, okay, how do I change this perception? So when people would come to her to give feedback on decks and things, or they say, oh, so-and-so wants to make an appointment with you to give feedback on something, she's like, well, tell me about this person, because my feedback's tough. So she started dripping in this language. So it got to the point that people were like, we got to have our act together because, Carla, she's tough. So you may think you're tough, but if they think you're a marshmallow, you got to change that perception.
Which is a really good sort of segue into the words you use about yourself, and the things you say about yourself are important in terms of setting and aligning what your personal brand is. And so to that end, Kelly, what's your elevator pitch?
So I've got lots of thoughts on elevator pitches.
Okay, tell me.
But at the moment, and then, one of the things, you say, hey, what's the elevator pitch, or what's your, what do you as a personal brand you're sharing with people? I'm like, I always say to people, how you're networking your ambitions to the world. Because are you your personal brand, like, what are you networking? Is it networking? Are you putting out to the world the personal brand that you want to be found for? Because you and I know lots of people have they do multiple things, right? And you're like, well, what do you want? Do you want people to send you legal work or photography, or like, what is the thing, right? So when you think about your personal brand, like, what's the, bullseye? What's the Mount Everest? What's the North Star that, that you want? So I'm in another one of these phases, Paula, that, my life is like, I'm kind of walking down that curvy path of career transformation, reinvention again. And there's pieces I'm pulling together from, yes, I'm looking to author another book. Yes, I'm still doing public speaking. Did a coaching program last year, and I got to get my coaching certification, but I'm like, and I'm doing a lot of facilitation, and I'm like, not sure what this is yet. So, maybe my start of my elevator pitch is, I'm in, another phase of reinvention, but when I think about elevator pitches and how I really do start them off, I started off with, like, what is it you really do? And what I really do is help other people succeed.
Oh, I love
that. And then someone says, well, how do you do that? Well, how I do that, I mean, when I think about my career, at one point I did that as a lawyer. I helped a lot of corporations succeed by taking, their companies public, or doing M&A deals, or all that kind of stuff. And then I was in professional development, and I helped attorneys succeed. And then I built a women's initiative for a global law firm, so I helped their women succeed. So I sort of think of all the pieces, and where is the thread between lawyer and author and all the multitude of crazy stuff in between, helping other people succeed. But when I think about elevator pitches, like, what's the thing that starts a conversation? Because a lot of times we rehearse an elevator pitch, and I look at it as, someone just kind of vomiting words on me, right? It kind of makes me want to go, okay, that's nice. Anyway, turn and talk to somebody else. So tell me what you do. Like, you can have your 90 seconds, but have a pause, have some cadence, have something. So I want to say, tell me more. And I always think of a lawyer at a big firm, and I said, what's your elevator pitch? And she's like, I'm a partner at blah, blah, blah in the litigation group, and I do intellectual property. And I'm like, oh, like, find me a sharp object to stab myself. So I finally said to her, what do you really do? She said to me, I open new markets in the pharmaceutical industry. I said, say more. Like, tell me more.
Like, that's interesting.
Yeah. She says, I'm a patent attorney, and I find weak patents held by big pharma. And attack those weak patents so generic drugs can get on the market earlier. I said, exactly. That was my face. I'm like, I said, I have so many questions. What do you mean weak patents? What do you mean weak patents held by big pharma? What do you mean weak patents are being held by big pharma, preventing me from getting low-cost drugs? I'm like, I have so many questions.
Topical too, yeah.
And all of a sudden now, we're having a conversation. So even if she had this, hey, what's your elevator? Hey, what do you do? I open new markets, whatever. Whether she had her planned 90 seconds or 3 minutes, that cadence to allow somebody else to engage. Because most times when we're doing an elevator pitch, we're doing it with another person as opposed to on stage or an introduction. So anyway, long answer to a short question.
No, it's perfect symmetry, because again, when I teach about this, I always say you have to have it broken into 5 separate statements, because that way it makes it easier to weave into what you're saying, as opposed to being ready to read your soliloquy, like, when I was a young child, this thing happened to me.
Right.
Like, it is relationship wise, people are going to want to jump in and out. Like, it's a double dutch of conversation that we do. And so that was, I mean, perfectly said in terms of having that pause and having that cadence. And I'm a big believer in the elevator pitch is a part of the way people talk about this in the industry, but the way it works in real life when it's interesting is that people are going to jump in and jump out of it. And so I love that. But you said something that I gotta go back to because I love a mic droppable moment. You said you got to network your ambition. And I was like, I'm gonna put that on a t-shirt. And, and I mean, that is so it in a nutshell, because it's really talking about like the mission. Like, what am I here for? What am I doing this for? And what do I want to get out of it? And again, it's not transactional, right? It's like, it gives you a North Star, like you were saying, like it gives you something to work towards. And I love that. So I didn't want the listener to let that go by without stopping and being like, did you hear what she just said? We are definitely tweeting that. Okay, so thank you for that. So to that end, when I talk to people about their brands, I also say to them, tell me how you describe yourself in 3 words or short phrases. And I want to hear what you say, what your thoughts are about that.
Ooh, 3 words or short phrases. I think I had sort of began to think about this, and then I'm like, what was I thinking about? I mean, when I think about myself right now, I'm a Canadian in New York. Now I'm, you know, and that sort of screams to, oh, right, like she's got a different worldview, yet she needs to be in this diverse, vibrant environment. You know, that kind of piece of it. You know, when I think about myself right now, you know, I'm in transformation, and I'm someone who has been resistant to uncertainty, but whose career has thrived because of change and uncertainty.
All of that. If I can, I want to just say what just came up for me, and I thought to myself, is you are, the first thing that came to mind was like chameleon, but that's not right. I was like, it's something about the transition piece, but that's not chameleon. It's more like metamorphosis.
Yeah.
What I think about when I see you, because in the time that I've known you, you've been like 5 different people, right? And you know, if you're in my therapy, my therapist says we're a different person every day after having experienced COVID, right? Like all of that. But for some people, if I were to say that, it would seem scary to me. But for me, it seems very much like a real core piece of who you are. And whether that is like sort of not right now, I'm trying to figure it out. It still doesn't feel inconsistent with who you are. And so I love that. I love it.
A big thing for me over this time period of the last few years, you know, I think there is an upside to having to sit still and sit with yourself and not like really step out of the hustle culture, put aside the New York, but the kind of whole hustle culture, and sort of say, like, really, who am I? When am I? What really rocks my world? When have I truly been successful? What has that been? And for me, I really have to trust my intuition. I mean, if I use a word to describe myself, like doing, like I just doing things reveals to me what I should be doing. So if anyone's like, okay, you live in New York, I live in New York. Okay, the original design of Central Park, there was no straight lines because the paths were you're supposed to always be like, what's around the corner, right? And when you get to that around the corner, you can't really, you sort of know where you've been, but it's not like this looming thing, like there's where I've come from, right? It was always supposed to be discovery. And I need to remind myself, because when I am in that state of engaging, of sharing what I'm capable of, showing what I can do, being, you know, expressing what I'm passionate about, and just moving, that's when opportunities reveal themselves, as opposed to me having like the action plan.
That analogy about, or the fact about Central Park was interesting to me because I am a Brooklyn girl. I like to stay in my borough unless I'm flying out. Right?
Yeah.
But each time I think about being in Central Park, I think about it as being lost. But what you just gave to me was this is number one, intentional, that you're not supposed to kind of feel like you're in it. Because I was like, where the heck am I? I just passed 6 different, trees, and I know that there's a fountain, but I'm not sure where I am. And that actually makes me feel, even as a New Yorker, because I always feel like I'm like cheating and not knowing what I'm supposed to be doing there. I feel a little bit calmer in it. Right?
Yeah,
in
right,
that.
right. Oh, and also look at some of the old light stanchions. They do have, a lot of them do have a little plaque on it that will give you what the cross street is. So it'll say 60 or it'll say 73. And then you're like, oh, if I go on a straight line, I will be at 73rd Street on the east or west. But it is intentionally designed for that kind of wonder and discovery and like, what's around the corner. Yes, this reflection. Anyway.
No, yeah, I mean, I have a lot of skills. I would say that I can do a lot of things. One of them is not read a map. One of them is not have directions. So, but that is good to know because just in case. Okay, so I'm thinking about that and what you said about taking a pause. And I wonder if you have it's a two-part question. So one is, I like to ask people about, is there a quote or like a guiding kind of value that you have in your life that that helps you to kind of, come back to the place in the road that whenever you feel like you're a little bit off? I'll start with that and then I'll ask you the second question. So is there something that comes to mind?
Oh, I mean, when I think quotes, for me, Oscar Wilde always comes to mind, like be yourself because everyone else is taken.
Speaking of personal brand.
Yeah, you know what? Because we can get so whipsawed in our hyper-connected, social media influenced world. We can get so tramped down in our truth because of somebody else's frustrations and ambitions and goals, what they wanted, and therefore they foist their frustrations, and so you get a lot of you shoulds and all the rest of that kind of stuff. And so I come back to Oscar Wilde.
I love that. And I also think about the fact that comparison, right, when you have your own path and other people's have it, is never a good thing, right? It's just never something that you should do. And I often find when I talk to people, they will think about their brand in a sort of diminutive, like, oh, it's not as good, because they are comparing themselves to someone else. And I'm like, let's just stick to you and what your value proposition is, how you come to the table and what you want to shine with versus whoever else there is over there, right? Like that's right. Important, but it's never as important as who to your point when you started off, what's your ambition that you're networking towards? I love that so much. Okay, so we got your quote. Then I always think, if you're like going into a room, or if you are sad and you want to pick yourself up, and it's a two-part because sometimes the song is different. So I love this theme of this way of saying you have a hype song. So I have a hype song whenever I'm going to speak. I play a song beforehand. Everybody, in case you want to know, it's Prince, Baby I'm a Star. But I also have songs that I play if I want to pick myself up, even if I'm not going to speak. And it's also Prince, Baby I'm a Star, but I have a whole soundtrack for that one. So do you have a song that kind of gets you into that space, whether it's going into a room or just need to pick yourself up?
So it was so funny. I had to go because my obviously music and stuff changes. So I thought, let's go look at what song I play a lot of. So let's go to, Apple Music, most played kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, that doesn't surprise me. So it's the song Rock With You, but it's the Brandy Heavy D version on a Quincy Jones compilation. And it just, it's so good. It is.
I know that compilation because I used to play it all the time, and I have not thought about that. Just that whole album in such a long time. So now I got to pull it up. Now I'm gonna link it for the leaders so that you'll make sure that you have. But I can't wait. And you would not know this, but Heavy D, one of my faves, and because he was Jamaican and I'm half Jamaican. And I was like, oh my God, he's Jamaican. When I was growing up, I'd be like, he can be a celebrity and he's Jamaican. Small things. I'm so glad you brought that up. Okay, great. Okay, so now let's jump into some more. So I know that you're an author, and I want you to talk to me about that as a platform and how you have built your personal brand, and specifically with the book, but other networks that you have used to build your brand.
So what's interesting about the book
Mhm.
is, like, I had to listen to my network to
Mhm.
tell me, A, this is my expertise,
Mhm.
and B, that I should be writing a book.
Okay.
So if I dial it back, it was when I was working in the law firm world, and I was in law firm management. My then boss said to me, "You need to tell people what you do. You need to explain to them this thing about building networks and networking. You need to tell people and share this information."
Mhm.
And I looked at him and told him he was an absolute idiot. This was the most stupid and boring thing I've ever heard.
Mhm.
And part of that was like, I was sitting in my own head of like, doesn't everyone do it this way? And like, what are you talking about? Like, I just do this, right? And doesn't everyone do this? So I think this is where it like comes to listening to your network.
Mhm.
That thing you do so seamlessly, that thing that comes naturally to you, that may be your secret sauce,
Mhm.
right? Like, you might be like, but hold on a minute here, right? Like, so anyway, so then there was that, and then paying attention to that when I was then approached by several other authors for me to give insights to them on their books on networking, I was like, can we just stop the press here? If I'm the expert's expert, maybe I should write the book. So part of this is, by the time it came around for me to say, whoa, I'm going to write a book.
Yeah.
So I listened to my network and started to pay attention. I had then, I want to say, done a lot of things and diversified my network, and had been involved in roles and things and speaking about networks and networking.
Mhm.
I'd already had it. So a lot of the platforms we think for a personal brand,
Mhm.
they were already there. They were like, that was foundation. It was in place when this thing, as opposed to, here's my thing, now how do I build around it? The foundation was there, and now it was like, because when I reached out on my newsletter to say I was going to write a book,
Mhm.
the responses I got from my network were like, finally, I've been waiting for this, right? And so that's one of those things too. So sometimes you finally decide to switch gears, but I would say to people, bring your network on your journey.
I love that.
And then you're refining, you're getting the evangelist, you're getting all the stuff, as opposed to kind of showing up as a fully formed human being and complete and saying, hey, did anyone notice? I mean, that kind of awe and amazement that works well for haute couture fashion shows, like surprise and delight us. But the rest of us, it's like, bring people on this journey, get their feedback, so that your brand is really having the impact you want it to have.
And what you're talking about is like an authentic process, right? It's something where that if you're saying, I don't have it in perfection, but I'm letting you know that it's on its way and this is my goal, this is what I want, and I want you to be involved. That authenticity and that vulnerability and saying, like, well, let's figure this out, right? It draws people closer to you. And those are also key pieces in having a brand that is memorable, right?
Well, and when you're really scared, right? When you're
Mhm.
uncertain, like, I remember when I decided to write a book, Paula,
Mhm.
there was a very quiet little voice when I wanted to tell people.
Mhm.
Because I had never imagined, I know a lot of people imagine writing books.
Mhm.
I never imagined writing a book.
Mhm.
Going back to that Canadian in New York thing, I grew up reading, Margaret Atwood.
Mhm.
Like, okay, reading Margaret Atwood since one was like 12 years old. So, that you say that about my formative years. that is, when I think of writing, I think of like Margaret Atwood. Like, I can't do that. How
Right.
could I ever like that's like, oh, whatever. I couldn't see myself doing that. Therefore, I shut that off. So when that finally had this burning desire to do this thing and not feeling confident in it, and saying it in that quiet voice, having this network who could see the possibility in me, who saw that, oh, no, Kelly, let's pull off those fears and veneers that had been established by someone else. No, your brand is doing this kind of stuff. Your brand is sharing this information. This does align with your brand of helping others succeed. Please do this. That gave me the confidence to pursue it.
So what I love about that is sometimes talking about branding, the dovetail goes into either talking about imposter syndrome or feeling that imposter piece, and also the ability to self-promote and have self-advocacy. And so what you just said is that other people can help you get there, right? It doesn't have to be only self generated. And a lot of times people will think about this as like, if I don't do it and I don't pull myself from my bootstraps, and even though I have my own boots, whatever, then it's not what it needs to be. And we should be tapping into our networks for support too.
Because that hero's journey of going it alone, let's just call it what it is. It is BS, right? All of us have support. We all pop out of somebody's womb. We all have you know what I mean? None of us just lands on this planet fully formed and able to achieve something, right? When someone says, oh, well, I built this, what? You had no employees?
Right.
No one gave you feedback. No one bought your product. We all get to succeed with the help of other people. So the more your brand is about helping people get where they go so you can get where you go, the stronger your brand is going to be.
Love it so much. I love it so much. So let me go off of, so tell me about this then. Who are some of the people who served as mentors and sort of those key stakeholders for you? What was that support system like for you? Anybody come to mind that you're like,
oh my gosh. I mean, I've had some incredible mentors. I'm going to say, I've had incredible mentors who were horrible people who taught amazing lessons. And I say that I think of one law firm partner I worked for, truly ultimately a horrible human being, but his attitude when he was as this very senior, powerful partner, his attitude towards the people who worked with him was, I train my assassins. He wanted everyone around him to be better, stronger, more successful than him. He created more power by taking that attitude because we were so beholden to him. He gave us, as a junior person, gave us enough rope to hang ourselves, but never allowed, we never could hang ourselves, kind of thing. And we got so much responsibility and such incredible learning that you put up with a lot of really egregious behavior because the rest of it was amazing. And this is what helped this person be successful. I thought of another, mentor around the same time period who every year would have dinner with some of the female associates. Now that can, in the Me Too era, sound, woo, this isn't appropriate. But this guy wanted to know how things were going. And I want to say the libations flowed, not because he was trying to do anything, but he wanted the truth. And sometimes a little alcohol is a really good truth serum.
Vino
and we would have these dinners, and it was like cone of silence. And we would tell what was going on. And the next day or the next couple of days, all of a sudden, all that friction and rift. So I think about when I've been asked by particularly men, how can they support women? I said, go in there and tell the person, your peer who is being a problem, tell them to get it right. Don't tell the woman what to do. Don't tell us that we should go in there and be tough and do that. No. Make your brand as the mentor, as the ally. Make your brand the one who goes in and calls BS on the behavior of your peers. Anyway, this is what this guy did, and it was Amazing. All of a sudden it's like, oh, gee, all that problem I had with that partner. Oh, that closing dinner I didn't get invited to. Oh, all of a sudden I've got the prime seat. Like the
Mhm.
things he did and
Mhm.
used his power was just like, yeah.
That's such a great example, right? Because you're talking about like impact, and so much of what we hear, particularly about law firms and a lot of other layered industry folks, is that it's a lot of talk and not a lot of action, right? And so if you're going to ask and say what it is that's going on, and then you don't do anything with it, then the trust is eroded, right? Like,
Right.
so there's a brand building in being an impactful, inclusive leader by hearing and then also acting. Like, right, it's not just the listening. So many people are like, oh, my intent is great. I'm like, great, but your impact sucks.
Yeah, right. Or their action is telling someone else what to do rather than saying, what is it within my, like, let me understand the power dynamic. What is in within my power? So then when I really think about it, and I think about today, like people who guide and mentor me, they
Mhm,
come in all shapes and sizes, all sorts of, like, people I can learn from
mhm,
and engage with. There's a Cassidy Williams, a young woman who is a developer who's based out in software developer who's based out in Chicago. And
mhm.
she's like, my mentor, Kelly. And I'm like, yo, let's just stop there. Who's mentoring who here?
But that's the great thing about being in relationship with people, right? Is that it's not supposed to be one-sided. Not if you do it right, right?
Right.
It's supposed to be what are we learning from each other? And sometimes that's just in how to interact with me better. I'm a big believer in asking my mentees, did you get that? Like, is there another way that I could say this that will make it easier? Because I want feedback as well, so I can do this better going forward. And so
Right.
I
Yeah.
love that. So tell me this, you have done a lot and sort of made a lot of pivots and shifts. Number one, is there one pivot that was like your favorite, like the one that you're like, oh, up till now, because obviously we're going to do more and it'll be like whatever the next thing is, but is there one that shifted you, so, or that gave you agent, whatever it is that was the most impactful for you?
You know what? I think it's when I left the law firm world
Mhm, mhm,
and went and became the first president of Global Business Network for Women.
mhm,
And that was a really, I did not know about doing that because, and I think that's something for a lot of people. They may be in a job or a role right now and they're thinking, I just got to keep my head down and do the good work, or I really want to do this other thing, but there's so much uncertainty and da-da.
mhm,
And so there I was, big law firm, working in a management role, nice paycheck, all the benefits,
mhm.
whatever. And here I was offered a role to be the first president of a global business network for women. And my compensation was going to be equity, period.
Ooh,
And I didn't know what to do. And I talked to a friend who was a partner at the firm I was at.
mhm.
And she said to me, well, what's the worst that can happen if you take this role? And of course, being a woman, I'm like, oh, I'm going to be living under a bridge somewhere in a side, Paula, that I was married at the time. And like, my husband could foot all the bills and like all that kind of stuff. But I'm like, oh, I'm going to be living in a cardboard box. And,
Oh,
like
no.
we go to such a weird place, right?
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
that brain loves to go to weird places.
Yes.
And I'm looking at her like, what's the worst can happen? I'm like, where do you want to start?
Mhm.
And she says to me, the worst that can happen, you come back here and get your old job back. And it was like the lightning bolt
Mm.
of, I have a network in this area. I have a reputation. I have
Mhm.
a personal brand in management. I
Mhm.
have I have built relationships that will survive a 6-month or a 12-month professional absence that, what, I can turn back to.
Mhm.
And as if the universe kind of like wants to remind me of that. It was really funny. It was when I was writing Build Your Dream Network,
Mhm.
And I got an email from a headhunter looking to fill a professional development manager role. And I'm like, thank you, universe. Like 4 years, like it was like sort of 3 years later kind of thing. Like you're just wanting to give me that little nudge. And I'm like, all right, I still have a brand here. I still have experience.
Yeah.
So when I think about, a pivotal career change, and in something that I'm so glad you asked that question. It was really like build your network, and keep doing that. And build your expertise so that you're known for something and your network knows what to know you for. And let that be, your kind of plan B, like your reputation, your relationships. That's your plan B if what you're going for falls apart.
I mean, it's like plan A, B, and C, right? It's just how you exercise it, no matter, right? So no matter what. And that's great.
Right. Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice, a mentor and friend gave to me when I was writing my book. He said, what are you working on? I said, I'm writing this book. There's no plan B. And he said to me, there shouldn't be a plan B. And this guy's a startup investor. He said, there shouldn't be a plan B, because if you're thinking about plan B, you're not executing plan A.
Wow.
I know, right?
Wow.
So that's why I think about your plan B is like your history of relationships, your history of, are you consistent? Can people rely on you? Are you there for other people? Have you delivered in the past? That's your plan B.
Wow.
Right? As opposed to being scattered on, well, if this doesn't work, I'll do this and da da da. What does that say about you? Right? And
wow.
So, I know
that's it's, I mean, it really is. I have a thing, a magnet on my refrigerator that says something to the effect of that you can believe in yourself. Like you are the person that you can believe in. And I always think about this whenever I talk to anybody or think about my own pivots. It's that as long as it's you, right? Right? That plan A, that plan B, whatever it is, that you're going to be the one that's going to identify how you're going to put your effort into it or not. And you're going to be the one that's going to be able to access the networks that you have built and invested in and all of those things. And that's powerful. That's so powerful. When you were saying that, I thought to myself, is there a piece of advice that people ask you about the most from the book that you're like, yeah, everybody needs to know this, or anything that you think like one game changer that, because everybody's obviously going to go buy the book, but is there something that you feel like you need to know this, like this is important? And I have a feeling I know what it is because I've read the book, but let me see.
No, I want to hear, of course, after I give my answer, I want to hear your answer.
Okay,
No. So as soon as you started saying it, and I'm going to, this will be me coming on through, I'm often asked, like, what's the hack? What's the networking hack? Like, what's the trick to networking? And I look at people and I say, don't be a jerk. Right? And so, I mean, you can't hack human relationships. Right? If your personal brand is hacking human relationships, then everyone's going to be like, talk to the hand, or you're going to get radio silence when you send out emails, or you're going to post something and no one, like the little boy who cried wolf, no one is going to be there for you because you haven't valued other human beings. And so how do you show up every day? That matters more than how you show up once. So do not hack those relationships. So that's my, there's my one piece of it. If it's one piece of advice, just don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk.
I love it. So I love that because it's good sound advice. Right, across everything, it's good advice. But it's about not following up.
Oh yeah. Well, that to me, like if there's as a thing to do, like if one, like you're like, Kelly, I'm not a jerk, and I'm really considerate, but I'm like, here's the one thing. Yeah. I think the single biggest mistake, people who are really trying to forge meaningful connections, where they sometimes go wrong, is they don't follow up. And it's not the thank you. It's the, hey, I took your, 3 months later, I took your advice.
Yep.
Or it's the, by the way, you made that introduction. Here's what happened. It's supposed to just say, well, I did follow up. I thanked them for the introduction. Yeah, but did you tell them what happened? You know, like little things like that. When you leave people wondering,
Yep.
you know, and hanging around, like, okay, did that person call you? Did you get the interview? What happened with the job?
Right. Because
Right.
taking your time or your energy or your sphere of influence requires something of you. And so you at least want to know that investment.
Well, that's your networking generosity. Because people always ask, what do I, you know, hey, what's my networking give? I'm just starting out. What do I give someone else? You give consideration, respect, and generosity for somebody else's relationships, reputation, and time. And I'm so specific: relationships, reputation, and time. Those are our only 3 assets in life. 2 of those are renewable. 1 is not. Right? Someone will give you reputation and relationships if you respect their time and value their time. Period. Full stop.
I'm just like literally like writing out the graphics in my head. Like, and then she said, and then after that she said this. Like, I mean, those are like game. It's so on one hand common sensey, but also because we know this, people just don't think about it. I get really frustrated because when I think about the timepiece, I can, even if I'm napping, it's a better use of me wasting my time if you're not going to, because I love napping. You know what I mean? Like
daydream. That is solid good use. Daydreaming, imagining, disconnecting, letting your subconscious create things. That is, you might come up with your best ideas. You might have absolute clarity on what's next by doing that. Hustling around for someone else who's being, you know, ultimately inconsiderate of your own time.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay. So I'm going to start closing our convo by asking you this. And maybe you just gave it, but what advice do you have for people trying to build their brands? But I'm going to cross it with their networks and using their networks. What's your advice?
Really listen. Listen. You know, and that is, you may discover something about yourself that is your secret sauce you didn't know. I think of my friend Joyce Sullivan. She thought of herself as sort of operationals Wall Street person. Then she, because of, you know, the crash in, you know, the Lehman Brothers and stuff, sort of 2007, 8, that era, she found herself without a job for the first time since, you know, she was a teenager. And there she is doing the outplacement coaching. And someone said, you're a marketer. And she's like, no, I'm not. And then like 19 other people in the room are like, yeah, you're a marketer. And she's like, whoa, okay, I got to listen to this, right? So I got to pay attention. You don't brush those things off. So listen to what your network says. And also, I want to think in terms of growing your branding network, listen to what you're feeling. Oh, the networking scenarios, the places to enhance your brand, grow your brand, develop your brand, they're going to come from where you feel authentic and genuine, right? Where are the venues, online and offline, that you show up and you can be yourself, as opposed to something someone else tells you should be doing, where you feel awkward and uncomfortable. So there's listening both ways, externally and internally.
I love that. Can I ask you a quick follow-up on that?
Yeah.
Do you think in listening and hearing other people to what they're saying about your brand and maybe your ambition, all of those things, should you be asking?
But that's where I'd really get into like saying, wow, I never thought of that. How do you see that in me? Or, oh, okay, I hear a lot of kind of shoulds and don'ts in what you're saying. Where's that coming from? Like, are they projecting their, you know, limiting beliefs? Are they projecting their fears? Are they, you know, maybe you're surrounded with a lot of people in your network who can't envision your future. Therefore, you need to find new connections who can envision that future. And to be able, instead of saying my dream or my ambition sucks, let me tamper it down. Maybe you're saying, okay, I get it. They're scared for me. They're worried. They want to make sure I've got a roof over my head, and, you know, like, or whatever it may be, right? They can't see that bypassing partnership or giving up on, grabbing the brass ring is really going to fulfill my heart. Let me find some people who can understand that. So but that's where I'm like, yes, absolutely follow up to find out what is the source of this. And when I think about my friend Joyce, I mean, what has come for her from listening to other people saying, you're a marketer, versus just going, what are you talking about?
Whatever.
Well, yeah.
Wow. Okay, so we have two standing questions in Branding Room Only. And one of them is, it's to stand by your brand moment. So what is the authentic aspect of your personal/professional brand that you will never compromise on?
Valuing my time.
Oh, yes, I drop. I love that.
And that's where probably where, I say to people, no is a complete sentence.
Snaps. Okay, so the next one is Branding Room Only. Tell me about your magic. What's that skill, unique thing about you, that gift, that brand proposition that a crowd is going to gather to hear, see, or experience?
Now, for me, Paula, it is really stepping into and accepting that this thing called networking or network building, that activity that most people like cringe-worthy activity, that there's a magical way I look at it and help people understand how they can unlock and tap into and build their networks. And I've resisted it, I've pushed against it, I've tried to but you know what? Everything in my life has come down because of interactions with other people. And it is so critically important that I just understand now, I need to sit in that space and just accept that that is the chair I sit on.
I love that. And it would be terrible of me if I did not acknowledge that a space that brought us together is someplace that's very, 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 very important and dear to me. And that is the New York City Bar Association. And when Kelly and I met all those years ago, I was just kind of hanging out there. I was there, at the city bar and volunteering and doing stuff with committees. And now I'm an officer of the New York City Bar Association.
That is so awesome.
Branding.
And I would say the networks in that institution has been so important from when my career as a lawyer to when I made my career transition into management, when I, became an author. I'm so glad you gave him a shout out.
Of course. And I want to thank you, Kelly, for being my guest on Branding Room Only today. And I loved having this conversation. And I'm already asking you, I know you need to come back. So
how soon is what I want to say. No, I am so glad. So glad you're doing this. Thank you.
Whew, wow, what a conversation. Now you can see why I had to bring this one back. As my very first guest on this podcast, Kelly Hoey set the tone for what this show is all about. Clarity, candor, and the kind of community-centered insight that never goes out of style about personal branding. This re-release is a reminder that foundational personal branding wisdom holds up, and Kelly's take on networking, visibility, and authenticity is as relevant today as ever. Some gems that I'm still thinking about. Number one, network your ambition. Network your ambition. What else did Kelly say? She said, don't be a jerk. It's the real secret to building relationships. And of course, a reminder that your network often sees your magic before you do. Kelly's always shown up with generosity, strategy, and a deep understanding of how personal branding and relationships are intertwined. And I'm so grateful to call her a part of my network. If this conversation sparks something for you, please share it with someone who's building or rebuilding their brand. And if you haven't already, take a minute to subscribe and leave a review. It really does help more people find the show and join the Branding Room Only community. Also, I would love, love, love if you can leave a review at ratethispodcast.com/branding. I'd be so grateful. Until next time, remember your personal brand is built moment by moment. Make yours unforgettable. And as always, stand by your brand. Bye.